Let's not ignore this simple, powerful MACD timing trick. And this works for all markets, stocks, cryptos, Forex, etc. Understanding this Muadhe.com original concept helps us remain patient and focused. More importantly, it improves our timing. And yes, this is also applicable in all time frames. Recently, markets have been down, and even today, we are seeing US markets down. Also, we can see here that cryptos are also down. Not only today or this week, we can see that since late 2021, markets for 2022 have been down. This is the NASDAQ. We can see BTC recently been down, but we can see here 2022 was a nasty bear market for BTC and cryptos as well. As far as the NASDAQ is concerned, I want to discuss this top here, this top, and this recent rolling over top as far as the MACD for the NASDAQ is concerned. And for BTC, by the way, these are weekly charts that I'm showing you here. We can see these two tops as far as the MACD for BTC is concerned on the weekly, and why we should not ignore the current setup. Remember, this is going to need some patience. But now, one thing we should remember is as long as the MACDs are below zero, and unless what I'm going to discuss here happens, as long as the MACD for BTC is below zero, expect markets to be sideways to down. We should all understand that as what the MACD is telling us. The same thing is true for the NASDAQ. Again, as long as the NASDAQ MACD is below zero, the momentum tends to be sideways to down until what happens when the market gives us a different signal. To understand this signal and why we need to be patient, the Dow Daily gives us a good example. Notice here, at some point after the market goes down here in October, we have this nice swing trade. And of course, we haven't been back to this level since. So we can say that this was a good entry somewhere here. Now, if we take a look at the MACD, notice we had this crossover, which was not a good crossover entry. Another crossover here, which I can argue was not very good. The reason why I say not very good is because, yes, you recover higher, but you come back and break the lows. So I would say there's a better way to time it, which is the reason for this video. You see this rejection here on the MACD, this rejection here on the MACD, that becomes the level to watch. So you remain patient until we break above what has been resistance recently. So right here is a better entry because you can see it corresponds with this day and this movement here. Since then, you don't get a retest of the lows. Actually, you get this very profitable swing trade higher. So again, during this phase here, you need to cultivate a lot of patience because there is no signal to re-enter the market. And the signal is given when you clear this range or the previous MACD failure points. Now, that's the daily for the Dow. And by the way, before I leave the daily, just want to highlight another observation and understanding. What the market is doing with this recent pullback, in my opinion, here is it's coming back to test this line. So if you understand the MACD, from an advanced point of view, any movement back above this line, especially with uniform action, means that it's a good re-entry in anticipation of a swing trade higher. If the MACD stays below the blue line, it means that it's not a good time to re-enter for a bounce, and actually you can anticipate prices to drift lower. Now, the weekly for the Dow, notice this failure point of the MACD, another failure point. So your best momentum entry is when we clear this range. And again, you can see this corresponds with a better price behavior, which is this move for a couple of weeks to the upside. Now, there's a couple ways you can cheat and get a better entry, by the way. I'll show you a couple ways. Number one, here's a crossover and a higher crossover. In other words, we go lower in price, but we have improvement in the crossover situation because yes, it's below zero, and this crossover becomes more reliable because it is crossing over and improving on the level as it is higher than the previous crossover. So that is definite positive divergence, which allows you an entry a little bit earlier here. And of course, there's the other way, which is to draw this line here, a declining trend line, where movement above this line should give you a reason to re-enter the market in anticipation of a move higher. So back to the current situation here. This is the NASDAQ weekly, and we can see here, yes, we are going down, but let's also be sensitive and be patient because what the market is doing here is forming these tops, and movement above these three tops by the NASDAQ weekly should set the stage for a very strong price recovery whenever it happens. And the same thing can be said for BTC on the weekly. We got resistance here. There's a slight resistance here. Even as of right now, as BTC has been sideways to down, we can see that it is still in the process of eventually moving above this trend line. If it happens, anticipate a more meaningful move to the upside by BTC.